During the first few days of the invasion, the German Luftwaffe bombarded nearly all of the Soviet airfields in the front line. Thousands of Soviet airplanes have been destroyed on the ground before they have a chance to react. The German Wehrmacht were able to cut through the Soviet defense line under the Blitzkrieg doctrine like a hot knife cutting through butter. The first major battle happened surrounding the city of Minsk, located in the Belarus SSR, serving as the capital of Belarus and its transportation center. The capture of Minsk will allow the Wehrmacht to easily capture the entire Belarus and march further east into the Union. In order to defend this vital city, the Red Army stationed the Western Front consisted of 670,000 soldiers alone in the city of Minsk. The entire Western Front had then been put under the command of General Pavlov, someone that's been viewed as the most incompetent commander during the Great Patriotic War. If we look into the background history of Pavlov before the eruption of the war, we will then discover that those so-called incompetent actions conducted by Pavlov during the Battle of Minsk are actually the best actions that can be conducted from his own perspective. When we look at those who served as military commanders and succeeded during the Great War era militarily, none of them were able to gain major success during the Second World War. Just like society, the way how war has been fought changes rapidly throughout time. A person that was able to be successful back in 20 years ago might not reach the same height if he used the same method he used 20 years ago today. Anyone who is unable to adjust itself to fit the changing environment throughout time will eventually be kicked out of the society. However, despite of that, human beings always have a tendency to resist this change of environment, especially for those who have been benefited by it in the past. For those successful military commanders during the Great War, such as Philip Pétain or Voroshilov, its own success during the Great War has solidified the idea that their military tactic is the absolutely right tactic. The Second World War, in the foreseeable future, will be simply just an advanced version of the Great War. The winning side will always be the one that has deeper trenches, more manpower, and bigger artilleries. Those old guards will hide themselves under the fake bubble of success until one day the younger generation that actively change themselves in front of a new format of war comes and destroy that bubble of success easily. Unfortunately for Pavlov, he belongs to one of these old guards. Prior to his promotion in 1941, Pavlov served in the Red Army and fought during the Great War and Russian Civil War. He then graduated from the Frunze Military Academy in 1928. The first group of teachers in Frunze Military Academy are all former Red Army commanders during the Russian Civil War. Pavlov himself have also served during the Great War successfully. Those factors have created a bubble surrounding Pavlov. Inside this bubble, Pavlov thinks that with the Great War tactic that has been proven to be effective back in just 20 years ago, he can smoothly complete his objective of defending Minsk against German invasion. On top of that, when we look at the military career of General Pavlov before the war, we can see that he has been forced into the position of being the commander of the Western Front. Before he was promoted as the commander of the Western Front, Pavlov didn't have any experience with commanding army group scale forces. The largest military unit Pavlov had ever commanded before his promotion is a division that usually consisted of only around 10,000 soldiers. The speed of promotion is nearly equivalent to promoting a store manager into a general manager of McDonald's within a day. Generally, this type of cases rarely happen in a modernized military, but since Stalin has purged most of the military commanders that have higher ranking than Pavlov, he is the best man the Red Army can find at the time. As a result, during the first day of the war, on June 22, 1941, Pavlov was put into the office of the Western Front. In video games, we can easily command 1 million soldiers at the same time without making a single mistake. However, this isn't the case in real life. Commanding 670,000 men at the same time isn't just simply pointing one's finger on the map and expecting the soldiers to go there without a hesitation. Not discussing specific military maneuvering, just solving basic questions such as what food does those soldiers eat at what place during which time require this army's commander to have numerous experience of commanding such a scale of forces and consult between his forces over time. As what we mentioned previously, Pavlov doesn't have a chance to obtain any of these during the eruption of the Great Patriotic War. As the losing side of the Great War, Bach is one of those people who diligently work days and nights to wait for a day where he can avenge the defeat of his own country during the Great War. Over the entire 1920s and 30s, when those victors of the Great War, such as Pavlov, are laying inside their bubble of success and firmly believe that trench warfare is the only answer to modern warfare, Bach has spent the past 20 years inventing and experiencing the application of the Blitzkrieg. His 2 decades-long hard work did prove to be worthy in the end. During the Battle of Poland, his army group neutralized the entire Polish forces in the north within 5 weeks. In the Battle of France, Bach was able to capitulate Netherlands in 5 days and Belgium in 13 days. An inexperienced old guards faced off with an innovative and experienced army commander. The fate of Minsk seemed to be decided before the battle even started. On June 22, 1941, during the surprise attack of the German Luftwaffe, the communication line between the Western Front and other Soviet fronts was fully cut off after the bombardment. The next day, Bach ordered his forces to cross the Neman River in the north and the Bog River in the south. Under trench warfare military doctrine and inexperienced army commanding skills, Pavlov was able to react swiftly towards this attack. By the end of June 23rd, when he realized that the German tank had crossed the river, it's already too late to push them back. However, by June 23rd, Pavlov still launched a medium-sized counterattack against the German spearhead in the north. This counterattack had done nothing but weaken the position of the defensive force of the Western Front, making an encirclement become a possibility from the German side. Bach swiftly noticed this vulnerability of Pavlov and tried to make an attempt to encircle a large number of Red Army divisions stationed at the outer city of Minsk on June 24th. Seeing no other options, Pavlov had ordered his troops that were under the threat of being encircled to launch a counterattack to break out of the encirclement. This unorganized attack only yields a partial success, with only a small portion of the Red Army soldiers being able to escape the encirclement. Between June 25th to 27th, the German Panzer divisions under Bach's order successfully captured the flank of Minsk. The entire Western Front faced another threat of encirclement. Lacking the effective way to repel the attack, Pavlov ordered the same order and requested the Red Army soldiers to break through the encirclement. After a series of retreats in a hurry in the past few days, most of heavy equipment and oil have been lost during the battle. Most of the Red Army divisions end up trying to break through German tank divisions by barefoot, but with speed advantage, the Wehrmacht can generally maintain the encirclement. Followed by the capture of Minsk on June 28th, the fate of most of the Western Front soldiers has been sealed, with nearly 300,000 men being encircled. The rest of the Western Front has been forced to abandon the city and retreat to a better position. Hereby marks the end of the Battle of Minsk, the first major battle of the Great Patriotic War, with the Soviet losing the control of the city after suffering 420,000 casualties. Pavlov has been considered as one of the most incompetent commanders during the war because of his cowardice and lack of initiative during the battle against Bach. By July, Pavlov had been sentenced to death by the Soviet Union because of his incompetence during the battle. A question arises from here. After knowing the background of Pavlov, can he really take all the blame for losing the battle? Yes, he might be an old guard and refuse to practice new military tactics, but he also has never commanded such large force in his life. His enemy, Bach, has been considered as one of the most experienced commanders of his time and has been fighting on the battlefield in the past 2 years. Pavlov's incompetencies might have ended up towards the military disaster during the Battle of Minsk, but the decision of putting this man in such a position is the decisive reason for the Soviet losses during the Battle of Minsk. The Army Group Center is busy with the encirclement in Minsk. The Army Group itself have reached the city of Kiev, the capital of Ukrainian SSR, marking the beginning of the Battle of Kiev, which will be discussed in the next video.